Welcome to this episode, folks. We're delving into a topic that's shaking the foundations of centuries old European geopolitics, this US Russia summit that's been stirring the pot.
Right, it's fascinating how something happening now could supposedly dismantle 500 years of history.
It's like this summit is challenging, the very bedrock of European political order established over centuries. The discussions in the video point out that the summit disrupted traditional alliances and power structures that have defined Europe since the medieval era.
I'm curious, what specifically about the summit is causing such a dramatic upheaval?
Well, the summit, which involved high level talks between US and Russian representatives, is seen as a pivotal moment that recalibrates the long standing European balance. Critics argue that by realigning priorities away from Europe, it's like erasing history. 500 years of rivalry, alliances, and diplomatic intricacies just upended in one go.
That sounds almost revolutionary. But isn't it a bit of an exaggeration to say it's destroying centuries of geopolitics?
I can see that concern. However, the video emphasizes that what we're witnessing isn't just another summit, it's a reordering of geopolitical narratives. It challenges the normative ideas of neutrality and the historical reliance of Europe on a balance between East and West influences.
Interesting. So, in this context, what role does neutrality play, especially with channels like Neutrality Studies discussing it?
Neutrality Studies frames this summit as a watershed moment. They argue that neutrality, long a hallmark of European diplomacy, is being redefined. It's
Yeah,
either a matter of being sidelined or forced into a new role as the divide widens between US and Russia interests.
and I noticed they bring in voices like Glenn Deason and Pascal Lotas in this conversation. How does that add to the picture?
Right, the discussion splits into two parts. The second part, which we're focusing on here, features Glenn Deason. His insights delve deep into the ramifications of these high stakes diplomacy moves, especially how they signal a decoupling of US Russia relations from Europe's traditional sphere, upending long held norms.
It seems like Europe might be caught in the crossfire of these great power dialogues.
Absolutely. The idea is that with this summit, European geopolitics is no longer the central chessboard it once
Yeah,
was. Instead, Europe finds itself forced to navigate a world where US and Russian interests are prioritizing their own strategic agendas, leaving Europe to redefine its role.
so, could we liken this to a scenario where an old, dependable system suddenly gets a disruptive upgrade that nobody was ready for?
Yeah, it's like the entire system's been reprogrammed. Imagine a centuries old playbook that suddenly gets tossed out. European powers must now rewrite their strategies as the old rules don't apply anymore.
I get that, but does the summit clearly indicate a breakdown in European unity?
Well, that's where the discussion gets a bit nuanced. While the summit didn't explicitly call for abandoning European unity, the ripple effects suggest a certain abandonment of Europe centric policies by both the US and Russia.
Yeah,
Essentially, it's as if the summit, with all its strategic signals, has pushed Europe to a kind of sidelines.
that seems like a drastic assertion. Don't you think, though, that Europe might adapt and reassert its influence?
Sure, there's room for counterarguments. Some believe Europe's long history of resilience could see it reinventing its diplomatic strategies. But the video and its interviewees, like Deason, express skepticism. It's a structural shift that might take decades to address, if at all.
And what about the historical context, the 500 years part? How do they frame that?
It's pretty evocative. The claim is that European geopolitics has been built on a framework established over 500 years, from feudal alliances through to modern nation states.
Yeah,
This summit, in their view, disrupts that continuous evolution, making the future of Europe fundamentally uncertain.
that historical angle really adds weight to the argument. It reminds me of how in history, when a long-standing order is challenged, it leads to periods of intense transition.
Exactly. It's like, think of it as turning the page on a centuries old chapter. Suddenly, everything from diplomatic alliances to economic systems might undergo radical restructuring.
And what do you make of the implication that the summit was, in a way, engineered? The video places significant emphasis on its impact, almost as if it was designed to trigger this reckoning.
That's a good point. Some of the commentary suggests that this is not a spontaneous event, but a calculated move in global diplomacy. It's as if
Yeah,
a new framework for international relations is being set up, and old paradigms like the European order are being sidelined on purpose.
It almost sounds like a chess grandmaster sacrificing a piece to win the game.
Exactly. It's like a high stakes gambit where both superpowers are willing to risk disrupting the traditional order to consolidate their strategic advantages. And in the process, centuries of accumulated geopolitical wisdom get thrown out the window.
So, aside from the summit itself, the video seems to be part of a larger conversation on global power shifts. What other points did they touch upon?
Good observation. The podcast links this summit to other current geopolitical events, interviews with analysts like John Mearsheimer, and discussions on recent US foreign policy moves.
Yeah,
It draws a broader picture where Europe's fate is intertwined with these seismic shifts in global power dynamics.
and I noticed there were references to other related content like Trump's inner circle and discussions post Alaska meetings. How does that integrate with the summit debate?
Right. The video cross references several discussions that highlight different facets of this geopolitical mutation. For instance, the Alaska summit is mentioned as part of a series of events that cumulatively weaken Europe's grip on the world stage.
So it's not an isolated incident, but rather part of a continuum of events that are reshaping global alliances.
Exactly. It's a tapestry of events.
Yeah,
One summit feeds into another series of decisions that are collectively altering the long-standing order. It's like dominoes in international politics.
one thing that still puzzles me is the notion of destruction in the title. Are we really talking about outright destruction of history?
That's the striking rhetorical impact of it, isn't it? It's not that history is magically erased, but rather that its influence is being radically diminished. The conventional narratives that have defined relations, alliances, and power balances over centuries are now up for revision.
I see, so it's more about a paradigm shift than literal destruction.
Exactly. The language may be hyperbolic, but it effectively conveys just how significant this shift is perceived to be.
Yeah,
It's a dramatic way of saying that the rules of the game are being rewritten.
and do you think this summative change will be permanent, or could history reassert itself over time?
That's the million-dollar question. Some, like Deason, express concerns that this is a one-way street, unless counterbalanced by new policies. However, history shows that while paradigms shift, there's also a resilient capacity for adaptation. Time will tell if Europe can reinvent its diplomatic identity.
It almost reminds me of the cyclical nature of history, eras ending and new eras beginning.
Precisely. It's like a grand historical cycle where every end is just a new beginning, albeit
Yeah.
a chaotic one. But the uncertainty is palpable as established norms give way to emerging power blocks.
And in all of this, the role of media and commentary, like that from neutrality studies, becomes crucial, right?
Yeah, definitely. Their approach, blending interviews, transcripts, and open debate, adds layers of insight that help make sense of these rapid changes. It's a call for viewers to re examine the narratives handed down over centuries, prompting a deeper reflection on what neutrality and power mean today.
I guess the takeaway is that we're witnessing a historic inflection point, a moment where the old world meets a new, uncertain order.
Exactly. And while some of these claims might spark debate, there's no denying that the summit is at least a catalyst for rethinking European and global geopolitics in a radical way.
Yeah,
It's both a dramatic upheaval and a challenge to think critically about how history shapes modern strategies.